While investigating the Titanic shipwreck, scientists found something strange. They saw that the front of the ship underwater looked pretty good, but the back part was in bad shape and far away by about 2,000 feet. Normally, things like iron and steel get rusty if they stay at the bottom of the sea for a long time, like 100 years. But here, the front and back of the ship had big differences in their condition, even though they were part of the same ship that sank together. The scientists think that besides hitting an iceberg, something else might have happened on the night of the accident that caused more damage to the back. The Titanic sank in 1912 at night in a dark ocean about 700 kilometers away from Canada. It had 2,240 people on it, and sadly, around 1,500 people died. Only those who managed to get out of the ship and face the cold water survived to tell the story. They were the only ones who knew what really happened from the time the ship hit the iceberg to when it sank. The first rescue ship, called RMS Carpathia, came about an hour and a half after the Titanic sank. It was lucky they got the message for help. Otherwise, the people struggling in the cold water wouldn't have made it. Back then, no one else would have known about the Titanic's accident. At first, the investigators didn't understand why the ship sank. But later, the survivors said it hit an iceberg. They saw the iceberg with the Titanic's red paint on it, so it matched their story. The investigation said the iceberg made a big hole, about 300 feet long, on the right side of the Titanic. This hole caused a big part of the ship's side to break. People who saw it happen said it took around 2.5 hours for the Titanic to sink. But later on, some experts thought about it more. An Egyptian researcher suggested that the big 300-foot hole might have been a smaller 30-foot crack. This was the start of solving the mystery. To understand why the front and back of the ship were different, researchers used special technology that can take pictures underwater. They took lots of pictures and turned them into a 3D model. This model showed things that regular cameras or people's eyes can't see underwater. The model showed that the ship's long decks, about 392 feet, were twisted together like paper, not steel. They were apart and scattered, with only 2 big engines still attached. The model also showed clues about what happened to the back of the ship. It looked like the back was spinning in a certain way when it hit the ocean floor. This spinning caused it to break when it hit the bottom, about 4 kilometers down. On the other hand, the front part of the ship was designed to move smoothly in water, so it didn't break as much. This investigation helped solve the puzzle of why the ship's front and back were different. But there's still one question left. When did the Titanic split into 2 parts? People used to think it broke apart before it sank, but now experts believe it happened underwater. Today, the Titanic's pieces rest at the bottom of the ocean. Scientists know that because there's not much oxygen deep underwater, the rusting process is slow. But they found that rust bacteria are still causing some rusting. In the next years, more parts of the Titanic will probably collapse, and its true shape will be lost forever in the deep sea.